Hi, I'm Cameron Humphreys from Humphreys Outdoor Power, and today I want to talk about the most popular Kubota tractor we sell, which is the Kubota L2502HST. I want to talk about what makes this tractor so good for so many people, and I want to go over some of the specs. I want to go over the controls. If you've just purchased one, this can help you kind of familiarize yourself with the machine. And again, the biggest thing is what makes this tractor so special. Let's dive in. So as we're looking at this tractor, we're just going to start with the very basics, the model number here. So the L series tells us what series it's in. So in the Kubota line, you've got BX, B, LX, L. Then they've got the MX, M, and then the M4 and 5s, and it goes up from there. But this guy is situated between the LX and the MX series. So it makes it one of the more popular tractor sizes. It's what I would consider kind of a 30 horsepower frame, if you're familiar with some of the older tractors, which is a very versatile frame, kind of reminiscent of the old 8-in Fords. The 25 stands for the relative horsepower on this thing. So it's got a 24.5 horsepower diesel engine. The benefit of it being 25 or 24.5 is that it stays under the engine requirements for any particulate filter. So this does not have any DPF filter or particulate filter, as it were, and that keeps all that emission stuff. You just don't have to deal with it. Now, that said, I do want to say this, we don't really have much of an issue with that on any of the bigger models. So like the L2502, the L2502, 47 or 4802, we really don't have any issues with it, but it's still an extra piece of technology that a lot of people don't necessarily want to deal with or have to worry about with their tractor, and that's one of the selling features that kind of checks a box off with this guy. The O2 means that it's in the standard L series as opposed to a Grand L tractor, which would be like an L3560, 4060, something where you're going into a lot bigger frame. This guy, again, sticking with that 30 horsepower frame. Staying here at the front of this tractor, we're going to look at real quickly at the LA526 loader. So skid steer quick attach on the front is how we always bring them in. You can get it with a pin-on bucket if you want to save any money. I don't recommend it. Skid steer quick attach is going to help you in both functionality and in terms of resale value later down the road. This guy is going to pick up just under 1,100 pounds lift capacity, and that's going to be functional weight. But with that skid steer quick attach, you can easily put pallet forks on. You can add a third function valve to this guy to put a grapple on, and that 1,000 or 1,100 pounds covers most things most people want to pick up. Now, is it enough for a round bale? Not really. I mean, I really like to see around 2,000 pounds for that kind of thing, but you can get one on the back. It's around 1,800 pounds lift capacity on the rear end of this tractor, so you can do it there. But typically, this front end loader will handle just about anything you throw at it around the house, around the homestead, that kind of thing. Maybe not, or maybe everything leading up to, but not including the bigger round bales. Now, if you wanted to handle the smaller round bales, or if you wanted to handle square bales, this guy would be your guy. Where this thing really shines, though, is in mulch applications, dirt, rock, that kind of thing. For most people, this is going to check off all the boxes and accomplish whatever you throw at it. So this isn't exactly a skid steer quick attach video, but I did want to show real quick, if you're not familiar, how these work. Basically, this lever drives a pin down into the bottom of this, which is keeping this bucket on here. This lever does the same on the other side. So when you pull both these levers up, you can curl the bucket underneath this lip right here, and you can pull out. And then that makes it so you can pull back into things like pallet forks or grapple or even a front snow blade. Anything that you would want to put on the front, skid steer quick attach, this thing will do. And it's also not it's not a proprietary thing with Kubota. Skid steer quick attach is actually called universal skid steer quick attach because it is so frequently used in the construction and tractor industry. Just so you're aware, in case you have one of these at home, it's very easy to pop this hood, pull your grill guard out front. There's a little release down there, and then there's actually a small release down here You just pull it down, and then your hood's popped. So we've got the hood popped up on this Kubota diesel engine. They make it very, very easy to work on this kind of stuff yourself. So they have it so you've got the battery access, radiator access, air filter access right here. Your engine oil and fuel filter are easy. These side panels pop out real easy down here, so you can pop those off and get to all of those filters. Again, it's the same thing we talk about all the time with Kubota, where they usually have the end user in mind when they're designing this kind of thing, and so they make all of these things very easy to service yourself because they want you to take care of it, because the more you take care of it, the longer it's going to last, and the more you're going to kind of get that Kubota feel and reputation that they're known for. All right, so we're going to dive into the controls on this thing. Again, hopefully this will help you if you've already got one of these machines, or if you're thinking about it. But it is kind of a decent time to mention the difference in the transmissions. So this particular one is the hydrostat, which is easily the more popular of the two, the other one being a standard gear drive transmission. The reason why this is more popular than the gear drive is all about the ease of use. So with this pedal, it's on a rocker pedal. If you push it forward, you go forward. If you push it back, you go back. And if you don't do anything, the tractor's not going to move, even if you've got it in whichever gear selector you've got, which we'll go over all of that. But I did want to take a moment to kind of mention the difference between the two. So the first one being the ease of use, the second one being the complete lack of clutch on this HST machine. So the old 2501s that this replaced still had a clutch that you needed to use for your PTO. This one, they've completely removed that. So we now have a clutchless PTO switch over here. So that's one of the big differences. That gives us an independent live PTO on this hydrostatic model, which again, it's kind of giving you, they've gone more premium as they've gone along. And again, it's not very hard to see why this is one of the most popular tractors they make. They're constantly making improvements to make it that way so that it's got all of the nice features without breaking the bank. Okay, as we're looking at the controls, I'm just going to kind of do a brief overview here real quick. So starting from the left and going to the right, this guy is a cruise control. So as I press this forward, my hydrostat pedal goes down like so. So if you were mowing for a long period of time and you wanted to just kind of lock that down so that you didn't have to sit there and hold it, it would do that for you. This is your high, medium, and low range gear selector for that transmission. We've got brakes down here. They are connected, so we've got right and left braking. Old school guys may want to pop this lock off the back so that you've got separated braking. I think most customers that I sell these to never move that at all. Your parking brake is right here, so as you've got the brake depressed, you pull that up, let off with your foot, and that will lock the parking brake down. Standard key switch with your glow plugs being right here. This is your engine stop, instrument panel, and this will be to actually turn on the engine. Throttle is up here above that. As we're looking at our dash here, kind of turn that on. This will give you all of your normal readouts, temperature probably being one of the more important, PTO speed, all that, fuel. You can see everything that's important there. For the loader, that's this control right here. So you've got up, down, left, right, and you've even got the diagonal, which is really nice, so you can curl and lift at the same time or curl and drop at the same time, a functionality that not a lot of other tractor companies offer. I do get a lot of questions about this. So this is a locking mechanism, so if I were to move this over, I can no longer move this lever. It is locked down. I personally use that a lot for transport, so if I'm putting it on a trailer and I have to lift the loader up above something, you can lock this in so that the wind or whatever doesn't allow that to move. Right here, we had just talked about that PTO switch, so it is clutchless now, so all you do is depress it and turn, and that will engage your clutch. Down here to the right, this is controlling our 3-point, so right now we have that auger on there. You can see it start to go down as I drop that. And you do have notches there, so you can notch where you want that if you're trying to hit that same depth all the time. This is a button to run the PTO if you are off the tractor, so you can put it on the parking brake and still run the PTO. This guy is controlling all of your lights. Looking at the seat here, we've got a few more controls. So this is going to give you a little bit of suspension adjustment in the seat. I wouldn't consider it necessarily a truly suspension seat, but it does have some springs and you can adjust a little bit of the up and down on it. The lever below that is going to control how quickly your 3-point falls on a gravity feed. This is your 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, so whenever it is down, it's in 2-wheel drive. If you were to pull it up, you'd be in 4-wheel drive. And then this is your rear differential lock. I'm going to take a second here to talk about tires. These are the new R4 tires from Kubota. They've got the Kubota stamp in there. There are 3 different tire options for this tractor. You can get ag tires, R4 tires, or R14s. I guess technically you could also get turfs, but in Indiana we have no real application for that. The R14s or R4s are typically what we would do if we were worried about leaving ruts or anything like that. The ag tires are probably my personal favorite because I'm a huge fan of traction. Traction's always a double-edged sword. You really need it when you need it, and a lot of times you don't want it whenever you don't need it because it will leave ruts in your yard. But at the same time, my personal philosophy is if you're cognizant of where you are with the tractor and the conditions you're in, you should be able to minimize those. So I prefer to have the traction when I need it as opposed to some of these others, but the R14s, this new style of R4 have come a long way in still giving you that traction without necessarily all the destructive power of the R1s. So different options for you. You can choose whichever you like, and they are pretty readily available at the moment. All right, moving around to this rear end, obviously we have this Pulse toll digger on it at the moment that is just for show, but it shows you how things would typically hook up. Now typically I would sell this machine with a Land Pride quick hitch, especially if it's someone's first piece of equipment and they were going to continue buying more stuff. We've got a video showing the quick hitch as well, so if you're interested, take a look at that. Highly recommend it. But it's just pretty much a standard back end. So around 1,800 pounds lift capacity on the back end. You've got the drawbar down there, standard PTO hookups. You do get the toolbox back here, a little plastic guy that Kubota is gracious enough to give you. You've got turn signals, hazard lights, and then rollover protection. Always wear your seatbelt when the roll bar is up to keep you safe. And then this particular one has a top on it that is not standard. That is an add-on that we have put on this machine for show. But what a beauty it is. So that's been an overview of the specs and features. But one of the questions that I feel like we still haven't necessarily answered is, why is this tractor so popular? And I think that has to come down to the size and functionality. So it's a little bit bigger than our B series, kind of the standard homeowner series. Again, on what I would consider that 30 horsepower frame, it's a very functional tractor, right? I'm comparing it to our 8N Ford. I trade 8N Fords on these a lot, or at least did whenever 8N Fords were a lot more prevalent. But I still do occasionally trade in an 8N for this. And the 8N was one of the more popular tractors ever. And it just checks off that box for that perfect size tractor where we're not too big where we're gonna start tearing things up, or it's gonna be too cumbersome to move around. We still have all the mobility that we would want in a small tractor with kind of the big bulkiness and the might of a bigger tractor. And it's kind of that perfect marriage of the two for most people and for a lot of different applications. Again, the front end loader lifting right at 1,000 pounds, just under 1,100 pounds, is very, very convenient to have around the house or the farm. I also think that the rear end, we didn't really talk about this, but 5-foot implements are what you would want to put with this tractor. And that's also a really good size. So some of the more popular implements that we would put with this tractor would be like a grader scraper for driveways or a box scraper if you're not into the grader scraper thing. We do have a video going over the difference between the two. A rotary mower, so something to cut down your big fields with. I've got a few people who like to finish mow with it. I'm not a big fan of that just because of the length of the tractor whenever you're trying to mow, if you're trying to really put a good quality cut on your yard. But I've got people who do, and that's just speaking more to the utility of the tractor itself. But there are a whole bunch of tillers. I mean, you name it. I've got customers out there who are using this tractor to do it. And it kind of makes it that Swiss Army knife where it's big enough to do your big jobs, but small enough to not be a burden to use. So this has been our overview of the L2502, our most popular selling tractor. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and give me a comment on the next video that you'd like to see. In the meantime, you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.